On to our second planning call for the January 23rd Day of Action, Resist and Reject Climate Denial. We're so excited to be planning this historic coordinated student action with you all and to be building relationships with so many amazing students, planning to throw down around this really important political moment and historic action opportunity together. My name is Jess Grady Benson, and I am the Director of Training with the Fossil Fuel Divestment Student Network. And I've been working on divestment since I was a student at Pitzer College quite a few years ago, and continue to work on this movement because I really believe in the power and potential that students have to leverage our institutions for really meaningful change for climate justice. And I see this moment as a really critical one for all of us to take action together. So I wanted to just give you a couple of housekeeping reminders. First of all, please stay on mute for the duration of the call, except for in moments when we are asking for you to engage with us. And there's going to be a couple of opportunities for you all to be in some small breakouts so that you can get to know each other, and also some workshopping times to actually start applying some of the action planning tools that we're going to share with you later in the call. If you have questions throughout the call, and you are on the computer, please feel free to post those in the chat along the sidebar on the right. And we're going to get to answering those questions during specific moments in the call. So please be patient with us, and hopefully we'll be able to get to as many of those as possible. If we're not able to get to your questions, we'll try and follow up with you one-on-one, or you can send an email to diveststudentnetwork@gmail.com, and we'll continue to share that info with you as well. Another thing is that we're going to be doing some of these breakouts throughout the call, so just be patient with us as we start to transition you into other rooms, they call them, in Zoom, and then you'll have an opportunity to engage more with folks. This meeting's going to go until 6:45 Pacific time, which is 9:45 Eastern time, so we'll be on for an hour and 15 minutes total. Thanks for the question, Sim, sorry. Cool. So let's get started. First, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about why this moment matters so much. It's finally 2017, and now I realize today that we're just 10 days away from Trump's inauguration. And as I've been continuing to hear of Trump's plans as he enters into office, it's pretty clear that his administration does not share our values. With a cabinet of Wall Street billionaires, white supremacists, climate deniers, and fossil fuel executives heading into office, the stakes feel higher than ever to protect our communities, the places that we love, and fight for a just transition. And this movement has built significant power over the past 4 years, and this is a critical moment for us to leverage that power, hold our institutions accountable to taking leadership on divestment and reinvestment, and we have the power to do that together. So I'm really excited to work with all of you in this historic action. Today we're going to be digging into reviewing the call to action. What are we actually doing together on January 23rd, and why? We're going to be hearing from some students about inspiring actions being planned at Seattle U and App State. And we're going to dig into some specific tools for moving forward your action planning, so that hopefully you can have some tangible resources to work with. And then you're going to get a chance to workshop those possibilities in small groups. So thank you everyone so much for being here. And I want to remind you throughout the call to keep signing up your actions on our action page so that we can see them on this incredible map and feel the breadth of our movement together. So I'm going to post that into the chat in a second. First, let's break out into some intros. We want to hear from you. What is your name, your pronouns, what school you go to? But in particular, share with your partners what is inspiring you to take action in this moment. So I'll post that into the chat, and I'm going to pass it over to Erin, who is so graciously, and thank you, Erin, is taking on our technology stuff. So just bear with us as we break into trios to do some intros.
Hi, guys. Does anyone want to introduce himself first? Are you all there? If you go down to the bottom left of your screen and just press unmute, like there's a little microphone button. There you go.
Hello. Hi everyone. My name is Sim, and I go to UCLA. But so it's like an extension program. So for high school students to go for college classes. What inspires me to take action is because I was too terrified of what could happen when Donald Trump is president, and how our views are going to be completely whitewashed during the election. They didn't talk about climate change that much or the environment hardly at all during the debate. So that was a big problem for me, so that's why I'm taking action.
Awesome. Does someone else want to go? I can really quickly go. My name is Erin, and I work for the Divestment Student Network, and I'm kind of supporting as a campaign coach for the Day of Action. I'm really excited about it.
Has anyone else not gone?
Go ahead, Cassidy.
Okay, I'll go. I got left in my breakout room, so I'm here. My name is Cassidy. I go to Appalachian State University, if I can remember the name of my school, in North Carolina. I'm a senior, and I'm also the regional organizer for North Carolina with the Divestment Student Network. And I'm really inspired to take action right now because just generally like the state of the South and the state of North Carolina right now. And there was some pretty terrible stuff that happened in 2016. There's like a proposed pipeline and some really big power grabs, and I know like all of that's going to worsen under Donald Trump. And yeah, I just know that we need to really take action in the South right now. And so yeah, that's what's inspiring me, and I'm really, really excited. Anyone else?
We're actually going to have to come back in just a second. So if people just want to maybe say their name and school, sorry about that.
Aaron, do you want all of us here to say our name and school? Or was that meant for someone else?
Well, I think we're actually about to come back, but I'm sorry.
Cool.
But hello.
All right, everyone, welcome back. So hopefully you got to meet some really awesome folks. Just had a great conversation and feeling really excited about how many folks we have on this call and how much action potential there is amongst us. I just posted in the chat the link to join our Day of Action by registering your action on the map. And this is really awesome because it allows you to get in contact with our resources and get connected with coaching, and also so that we can continue to see how this Day of Action grows and tell a really powerful story about how many students across the country are jumping into action. So I'm going to keep bugging you to sign up for that. And I just wanted to hear, what were some of the things that came up in your conversations? So do 2 to 3 people want to just share back what's something that's inspiring you to take action in this moment?
The gravity of it all. I was watching the Senate questioning of the Attorney General candidate, and that was like very sobering. Like, people, like, these are gonna people in power. Like, it's felt very, I don't know, like imaginary until now.
Totally. I really resonate with that. Could you share your name and what school you're from?
Oh, Julio Scarce from Whitman in Walla Walla.
Awesome. Northwest, represent.
Yeah.
Great. Cool. Someone else want to share what's inspiring them?
I could go. Or maybe not inspiring them. Or yeah, what's inspiring me to take this action? I think really, at least in the Flagstaff community, there's a lot of people who were really shocked that Trump won and all this stuff happened, but there hasn't necessarily been a response by the city. The night after, like, you know, there was a protest, everyone was pissed off, but then everything sort of fell apart, and I think people are scared, not really knowing what to do. And so hopefully with this action, it'll be a thing for the community to get together and like, all right, we could do things like this, we could plan events, we could resist in some sort of way, and hopefully this will help those conversations start forming more concretely.
Totally. Yeah, I think that's really critical, that this can be a moment to really come together and show our power, and hopefully provide a catalyst for folks to continue building that energy and escalate further throughout the semester. Awesome. And if I could remind everyone to just stay muted unless you're speaking, that would be great. Awesome. Thank you. Cool. Let's hear one more.
I would say just the audacity of these guys. Like the as far as Trump goes, the ghostwriter of The Art of the Deal, he said on Real Time on Bill Maher when they had him on, he goes, "This Trump is a man who has never read a book in his adult life, but yet Trump feels comfortable just disregarding the clear warnings of climate scientists." That takes some nerve, and it makes me want to take action. So.
Word. Yeah. The really clear climate denialism that Trump's cabinet is explicitly stating in this moment gives us a little bit of a preview of what we have in store. And I think it's critical that we start resisting that now. So that's what we're doing here today. I'm going to pass it over to Victoria, who's going to share a little more about our call to action and what it means to join in. Thanks, Victoria.
Cool. Thanks, Jess. Hi, everyone. My name is Victoria Fernandez. I went to UC Berkeley and graduated a couple of years ago, and now I'm a coach with the DSN. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your reasons. For all of those reasons you listed, I know I heard a lot of great ones in my group. That's why it's so important for us to act together on the 23rd and like commit to doing a walkout and commit to stepping into risk. And I know it's kind of like when you're thinking about planning, it's like, oh, what even is a walkout? Like, how do you do it? And there's a bunch of different ways you can do a walkout. And it can be as like confrontational and as kind of nice as you want it to be. It depends what works within your campus context and your strategy. And basically, it is literally standing up at a designated time in class and walking out of class. sometimes people coordinate with professors. When I was a freshman at UC Berkeley, I was part of a walkout. I hadn't done any activism before that. And I was in a gender and women's studies class, and someone came in and was talking about the Occupy movement with the teacher's permission, and then our teacher invited us to all stand up and walk out with her. So that was really exciting. So that's one example of a way that a walkout could go. And we can answer lots more questions and sprinkle more info about that throughout the call. Yeah, so that's the reasons you listed are a huge reason, and some of like the driving reasons that we're asking you all to join us in this National Day of Action and plan a walkout for the 23rd to fight for all of our futures and urge our universities to divest in colleges. At this point in time, we have so much to gain and nothing to lose by walking out and organizing together. And so I want to encourage y'all to, again, sign up to pledge your commitment to take action. And we're going to link that in the chat. Yep, there it is. Thank you, Jess. And we can start to get into planning. Throughout this call, we're going to cover some of the top things that y'all need to plan your action. Going to reiterate it a couple of times, but just so it sinks in. So the kind of top three are making a recruitment plan, nailing down some key messaging, like 2 or 3 really main points that you can repeat over and over again, and your day of action plan. And I'm sure you all have lots of questions and ideas and excitement. So we're going to get into that in a couple of minutes. But first, I wanted to invite a couple of campaigners, Rachel and Cassidy, to hear some examples of actions that they're planning. And then we're going to go through a mini action plan where y'all can start to think about your actual actions. So keep those questions in mind, write them down if you need to in a notebook, or write them in the chat, and we will definitely be sure to get to them. So I'll pass back to you, Jess.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Victoria. So again, we're all joining together in action on January 23rd. It's the first day of classes in Trump's presidency. And so what a better time to leave class and really send a message to both the incoming administration and our universities that we will not stand for this. And both Rachel and Cassidy are working on dope plans for actions. And I'm going to pass it to Cassidy first to tell us a little bit about what they're thinking about at App State.
Thanks, Jess. Yeah, so I'm Cassidy. I go to Appalachian State University in Western North Carolina, up in the mountains, and we have about 18,000 undergraduate students. And I just wanted to share a little bit of my experience thus far, which is awesome. Grew up in Durham. Yeah, so if I'm being completely honest, it's been pretty emotionally challenging for me to really become confident as I start planning this action. And I think that stems from a kind of rough experience our campaign had during the first action we planned this past spring. And since then, I've done a lot of reflecting, some crying, and I've gotten a lot of support from and encouragement from mentors and peers in the doing divestment work. And now I feel pretty ready to recruit our goal of 200 people to this walkout on January 23rd, because I know there isn't any more time for me to get stuck in fear of messing up. And so with a proposed pipeline going across North Carolina, Virginia, and West Virginia, and there were some pretty horrendous forest fires and hurricanes this past fall, and also a lot of power grabs by the right in the North Carolina government. Yeah, I feel really strongly that the land and the people of the South need positive change if we are to survive. And I really want to be a part of that story. So some of the plans I want to share with y'all tonight are just kind of about the day itself. And this walkout feels really powerful to me because it's also like the first action we're planning on campus. And so we plan to have folks walk out together and just like gather outside first, and then lead everyone in a short march with chants and banners and signs through the busy parts of campus. And then, so we'll have like an email sign up and pamphlets kind of with like explaining to folks who don't know like what we're doing and why we're doing it. And then we'll eventually end up in the administration building, which has an atrium that kind of like allows students to face each other and wrap around on multiple levels. And kind of our vision for that is to be able to like hang banners and have like a 30-minute rally in the administration building, where we have a couple of student speakers and then potentially a faculty speaker talk about like why they're there and why they're taking action. And we want this to be really hype and empowering to students, faculty, and community members. But we also want to stay like true to the seriousness and urgency of the moment and of the climate crisis. And then we want to end the whole thing out with an invitation for folks to join us at an open meeting later in the week. And so that's kind of like the day of. And then some of the tactics for recruitment that we've been working on are that this week we're going to be using the Facebook event page and start putting out a series of blog posts written by students about like why they're ready to take action, and then sending emails out in general to different student groups. And then also next week when school starts, we'll be tabling every day, flyering, chalking, maybe doing some dorm storms, class wraps, and then hopefully throughout that whole process we'll have a pledge to take action cards for folks to sign. And then we are trying to plan an art build for the Sunday before the action, just to get folks together and create the visual aids that we'll have on the day of. So yeah, along with media and then like a more fully fleshed absorption plan, that's what we have so far at App State, and I hope that those ideas are helpful for y'all as you start planning. We haven't made contact yet. There's a question in the chat. Have you made any contact with any other student groups to get involved? And that's something we'll be working on this week too. So thanks. I'll pass it back to Jess.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cassidy. That sounds really, really exciting. I especially love the way that y'all are being so intentional about how you're going to absorb people after the action by having a public meeting to like train and bring more folks in after you all walk out together. It sounds really exciting. So now I'm going to pass it over to Rachel, who's across the city with me in Seattle at Seattle University. Rachel is joining on the phone. Go for it. Are you with us, Rachel? You might be muted because we cannot hear you. All right, cool. Well, I'm going to pass it. I'm going to check in with Rachel and see what's going on with her technology. And I'm going to pass it on over to Becca to talk a little bit about some tools for action planning. And then we'll see if we can get back to Rachel to share her story a little later in the call. So over to you, Becca.
Hi, everybody. My name's Becca. I'm work at 350.org on our divestment team. And I started out doing divestment as a student at Brown and UC Berkeley. So been with the divestment movement for almost 5 years. And it's been really amazing to see how it's grown and changed over the past many years. But I think for me, it feels, this election just makes it feel even more critically important that our universities make a moral stand about where they're at with the fossil fuel industry. And this day of action feels really important. And I'm just really excited to see everybody on the phone and on Zoom and excited about this. So what I'm going to talk a little bit about is how to do effective action planning. So I planned a lot of really bad actions when I was a student. Like, let me tell you, there's this one action that I did where we had no recruitment plan and we decided, I was part of a student labor group, and we were trying to get our university, Brown, to cut our contract with Adidas, I think. And we were like, we're going to do a workout for workers' rights. And we were like, we're going to like dress up, and we're going to have a really loud boombox, and we're going to work out. It's going to be awesome. And we get there, and just everything had gone wrong. Like, there were just 8 people there. We didn't have a good sound system. We had someone's like, those like little dinky speakers that you can like buy at the 7-Eleven that like don't really make any noise. And then like we didn't have any chants ready, and like we didn't have a letter to the administration because we were going to march over there afterwards. We basically just like, we just thought it was going to magically happen. Like we didn't really actually make a plan. And it was it was funny and fun, but I was like, oh, it was just like this moment that I now it's really funny to think about. And I'm just like, that is just like, I just thought it was magic. I just thought things like, or I was just in denial or something. It just like happened magically. And, throughout my time at school and now, doing community organizing, I've learned a lot about how actually it takes a lot of planning and just like intention to plan an action well. And you have to know your moment too. I'm thinking like forward, like a year later, I planned a big student rally. The city of Providence had decided to cut a bunch of the teachers' jobs because there was a deficit. And we were like, okay, Brown needs to pay more taxes to the city of Providence so the teachers can keep their job. We need to have a big rally and press conference. We have 3 days to organize it. Everyone's really upset about this. And we had like 300 people show up. And it was like, we actually made a plan. And we were like, okay, how are we going to recruit people? What's the story that we're telling? How are we going to make sure that people understand why this is politically relevant? What is our demand to the administration? And that just like actually, and that action was so successful because people were really hyped. People understood why we were doing the action. They were asked to come to the action. So right now I'm going to talk through this awesome action planning template. I just put it in the chat. So I apologize for folks on the phone. But this is one of my favorite action planning templates. And we're going to be sharing a toolkit later in the call that kind of goes through all the elements of how to prep your action. But this is a really important one. Plan beats no plan. Seriously, like if you don't have a plan, you got to have a plan. So this is a way for you to think through how to make a more powerful action plan. So I'm just going to walk through each of the pieces and why they're important. And then we're going to have time to hear from Rachel and then break out into small groups and talk about it. So first, you need to get clear on what your goal is. What is the goal? We have a collective goal, which is that we want to show our universities across the country that we are saying no to the fossil fuel industry and that they have to too, because they're throwing their back behind Donald Trump. But what are your goals on your campus? How are you going to make this build your divestment campaign? Then your strategy. How does this action get you to your goal? And then think through the objectives, the tactics. Are you going to be doing a walkout like other folks? Are you going to do something else? What's the tone of the action? Are you angry? Are you like mourning? Like what is the right tone for speaking to other students on your campus and to the administration? Messaging. What are the 1 to 3 talking points? Lucky you, the whole media toolkit that you'll get at the end of this call, that has some really awesome talking points. And then your visuals. And then you want to make sure you have a clear timeline of your events. And Cassidy modeled this beautifully. She talked about how they're starting recruitment and creating their Facebook event. They're doing an art build. They're reaching out to other students. Make a plan starting today until the action. Look backwards. What do you need to do to get those 200 people onto your campus, into your action? And what sequence do you need to get there? Do you need to have a training? Do people need to be prepared? Do you need to have like a 30-minute training where you talk to people about how they're going to walk out of their classroom? What's your action plan? So sometimes we just plan for how we're going to get people there, and then we don't actually know what's going to happen. That's definitely happened to me. We're like, we're just doing this thing, and then it's going to be great. So you actually need to make a really clear plan for what's going to happen on the day of. Where is it going to be? What's your route? And what are really specific roles that you need? How long is it going to last? Making sure that speakers have very clear prompts and everyone is clear on what they're going to say. And so just really sequencing out your action plan and making it really clear and making sure that everyone in your core knows what's going to go on. One thing I'd say about the action plan is really making sure you're clear on the 1 to 2 people that are going to make sure the action goes smoothly. They don't need to do everything, but they need to have the bird's eye view of how the action is going to happen. So if anything goes wrong, like if the administration comes out and is like, you kids, we're going to divest tomorrow, like, don't worry about it. Like, how do you respond? Make sure there's someone who knows how to respond to that. Or if there's someone on your campus that's like really upset about what you're doing, how do you make sure that you're responding to that? Or, if it's just like chaotic and people are walking all over the place, making sure there's one person that's handling and delegating to make sure you're able to respond to those moments. So having an action coordinator is super important, and thinking through the roles. And then there's 3 more things, which is outreach plan. Cassidy talked about this, but just really making sure you detail out how you're going to reach out to people. How many can you call people? Can you make sure everyone texts their friends? Have a really good Facebook event. Talk to other student groups. Send an email invite. There is nothing that beats phone banking and text banking. I know we all probably got way too many texts and phone calls during the election, but there's a reason that electoral campaigns call people and text them. It's because that is definitely the most effective way to confirm that people are going to come to an action. So think about what it would be like. Maybe you don't have people's phone numbers, but can you make sure to send them emails? How do you triple confirm that people are coming? Really ask them and invite them. Ask them, why do you care about taking climate action? Okay, then make sure you come to this event and bring 5 of your friends. And then the last 2 things are just making sure you have a media plan, someone ready to talk to the press. People are going to be press across the country and in your own community on your campus are going to be looking to cover what young people are doing around the inauguration. So people are probably going to be really excited to talk to you all. So make sure you have someone that's ready to talk to people, and also write a press release and advisory and send that out, which there's details in the media toolkit that we'll send out later. And then this is probably a little less relevant, but if you're going to make any banners or if you're going to provide food or anything, just think about what your budget is and how you're going to pay for it ahead of time so it's not stressful later. And then last but not least, making sure that you have a follow-up and absorption plan. So all 200 people come to your action. Now you want them to get involved in your campaign. Probably doesn't make sense to invite them to just like your general meeting where you're like digging into all the details. So maybe think about planning an open public meeting where you train folks on what the strategy for your campaign is, invite them into some of the working groups or smaller roles, set up one-on-ones with them. Really think about how are you going to use this action to make your campaign stronger so there's more people in it and you can do even bigger actions a few months down the road. So I would encourage you to take this and start filling it out yourself or with a few people from your team and just copy and paste this template and use it as the basis for how you're fleshing out your plan for your whole action. So yeah. And like Victoria said, there's a lot of different ways a walkout can look. And so think creatively about what makes the most sense on your campus, what will make the biggest splash, what's feasible for your campaign. And the reason we're asking folks to do walkouts is because it's actually a really simple thing to do, just leaving class. It's easy for people to participate in, but it really shows some defiance and some anger and some clear willingness to take risks as young people, for the fact that we know that our universities need to stand up for our futures in this political moment and that we don't have any time left. And there is the choice is clear. Universities need to divest their holdings from fossil fuels. So I will pass it over to Jess to have Rachel share.
Hey, Rachel, are you with us now?
Yes, we are.
Amazing. Okay. It sounds like maybe you should mute the phone with you or somebody else should mute. There's a little echo.
Okay.
Yes, that's great. Awesome. Okay. Thanks, Rachel.
Okay. Well, hi, everyone. Sorry for that technological difficulty. But yeah, so Kelly and I are students at Seattle University. And over winter break, we also decided that we were going to take part in this walkout. And so we definitely had a lot of hesitation at first because it seemed like something that was like really bold. And I don't know, I think that a lot of times those high risk actions, like there's always the voice of being like, is this the right time? Is this the right like situation? But in the end, we did decide to do this. And it was really because a lot of the students in our school have been voicing and have been expressing a lot of fear in response to the last few months and what's been happening, and they don't know what to do with that. And so, like, we want to show that, like, like, we are united in the face of this new threat, and there is something that we can do about it, and also give an outlet for turning that fear into power. And so, yeah, and what we've ended up doing is we formed a coalition, which is something that we've been wanting to do for a long time. We've talked about it, but this was a really great opportunity to take that first step. And so we ended up contacting our friends that were part of other groups. There are a lot of cultural and identity groups that have really loved being a part of this. And we said, like, okay, let's figure out, we want to do walkout on January 23rd. What should it look like? So we've, we decided that we were going to move forward with that. And right now, what it's going to look like is we're going to have a rally that has a time TBD. And then after that, we're going to be trying to opening up a discussion space where that will probably have, like, racial caucuses that where people can talk about in, like, this open space about like how they're feeling and things like that, and how we can, like, move forward and continue, like, with this momentum in order to actually do something about the fact that Trump is now president. And so the central message that we've been that we've really enjoyed settling on is the fact that, like, we want to make ourselves ungovernable. And that's part of, like, why we decided, like, a walkout is a bold enough move, or a walkout is the right level of risk that we want, because we want to show that we are, like, as this, like, coalition, like, we aren't just going to be easy to ignore, and we're not just going to have, like, a rally in one place. We're actually are going to be disrupting things. And so we're also going to be working really hard. Like, part of that is to draw the connections between the struggles that we've been facing, because like, that's kind of the reason why we had, like, that coalition, because we wanted to show that even though we face a lot of times different struggles, that there are larger structures at work, and that, like, Trump isn't like, this isn't just Trump, and that he's a product of this system. And also we have our divestment group has been very vocal on campus. And so a major part of this is showing that, like, climate justice isn't just divestment, and how environmental racism is something that has been a major part of Trump's policies, and how it's something that we can all unite under. And so, while also making sure that, like, that we do, like, all face different struggles. And so that's one of the reasons why we want to have everyone's voice be there, so that we can have people who might not have just come to something that was just about environmental racism, because that's, and, like, an environmental injustice, because that's something that not a lot of people have that immediate access to. But there will be people who want, like, hey, I'm, like, really afraid of what's going to happen to my parents, or I'm really afraid of what's going to happen once, like, religious laws get put in place. And so that's a chance for, like, a really good opening for people to be introduced to, so that they can feel like they want to get involved. And so, yeah, we're going to be, like, it's a chance for having disruption and discussion, so that that we can have both of those kind of spaces open where people can process things while having that bold statement to the rest of the campus. And also a really important part that we're trying to include is, as was talked about before, like, in making sure that we're once people come to the action, that they have something to do afterwards. So we've been talking about having, like, pledges for pledges for action and trainings that are going to be following up afterwards, so that once people have come to this one action, they know what to do next. And yeah, so I definitely relate to a lot of what Becca said, because we've been having a lot of trouble with organizing our actions in the past as well. And so it's definitely something that we've been realizing, like, the communication is going to be something we've really had to work on. And, like, beforehand, we'll be having a lot of, like, banner drops and really visible actions that make sure people will be able to really, like, so that people will be thinking about what's coming up soon rather than just seeing like, oh, pamphlet, cool, and then forgetting about it. And yeah, so that's kind of the speed through version of what our discussions have been about, and we still have a lot to figure out. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of meetings in the next couple weeks, but yeah, that's where kind of our school is and what we've been talking about. So pass it back to Jess.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rachel. It's really exciting to hear about what's happening across the lake. And I just want to really lift up the ways that y'all have chosen this moment when a lot of student groups are being energized. Instead of trying to segment and battle for ground, you're trying to figure out how to come together. And that's a hard thing to do. And I think that's awesome. And just want to also really hold that there's a lot of different ways these actions are going to play out. And that creative potential is really exciting. So we're going to get a chance to dig into what that actually looks like for all of you and apply some of the tools that Becca shared with us. But first, we want to make some space for your questions. So I'm going to pass it back to Becca.
Awesome. So folks should just drop their questions in the chat. And I'm just going to answer Aaron's question really quickly. I think if people say Republicans didn't walk out when Obama became president, I think you can say this is a lot more than about Donald Trump becoming president. This is about us standing up for our shared future, and the president and his entire cabinet and the House and Senate have committed our world to continue running on fossil fuels instead of running on an economy that actually works for all of us. And so I think really flipping it and being like, this isn't just about the president. He's like the kind of figurehead of a much bigger shift that our country's making and continuing that we can't continue down. Wondering if any people have questions about action planning or recruitment that they want to jump into the chat. So I haven't heard of professors not endorsing or getting in trouble, but I think I would just trust professors to make the choices that are best for them, and say, like, you know, if you're not tenure, that's okay. Maybe you can just like make it clear that you like support students to do this, but oh, sorry. So the question in the chat for folks on the phone was, in previous walkouts, has there been issues with professor endorsements, especially non-tenure professors? And what I was just saying is that folks should just ask professors what they're comfortable with and take direction from them. But it's definitely encouraging professors who are supportive to stand up with y'all is awesome. So great. So Dana is working with some high school students who the schools don't have endowments that invest in the industry. How do you suggest messaging high school student walkouts? So I think this is exciting, really hype about, guys, high school students are walking out in Colorado, so there's no excuse for you not walking out on your college campus. Big ups to folks on this call who are doing that. And I would say, so there's a lot of ways to talk about it, right? This is about our universities not throwing support behind the fossil fuel industry. And there's a lot of ways university, like school districts can do that, whether that be like not using banks that are connected to the DAPL companies, or just generally their universities putting out a statement saying, the high school districts putting out a statement saying, like, we support strong climate action from the city of Boulder, and that means like not continuing to support fossil fuel companies. You know, they could have demands that match the tone of the action. And I think what's more important than anything is just like a bunch of young people walking out of school saying that they think our economy shouldn't run the way it is and that it's messed up that these companies are throwing support behind the fossil fuel industry. So yeah, it's really dope and excited to support y'all to think about that more, Dan. And I don't see any other questions in the chat. So I just wanted to reiterate a few things before we go into the questions and small groups that Jess is going to move us into, which is that just to reiterate a few things from the action planning template. I think the biggest things are really coming up with a clear recruitment plan. Then making sure that you have a clear plan for the day of, and then having a clear absorption plan. How are you bringing this in? How are you bringing more folks into your campaign? And then don't forget to register your campaign on the website. There's like almost 40 campuses who have said that they're going to do actions, and we don't have that many on the website. So if you're one of those groups that hasn't signed up yet, make sure to do that. And just to answer Kengo's question before passing it back to Jess, I think that depends on your relationships to other groups. I know other folks who have done big actions in collaboration with other student groups have had like a list of 3 key demands. I think in this political moment, it's pretty easy to talk about how the university cannot be complicit in Trump's racist and climate denialism, and that our university needs to take stances that are clearly against and will stand up for the interests of students, whether that be divesting from fossil fuels, creating a sanctuary campus, committing to protecting students under the Trump administration. And so really using the larger political moment to weave everyone else's messages together. But thanks for that question, Kango. I'm going to pass it over to Jess.
All right, cool. So folks, you can continue posting questions in the side chat if you'd like, and you can also take those questions into your small groups, and we're going to divide up into those right now. So we wanted to just give you all a chance to continue connecting with each other, because you are each other's best resources in a lot of cases. And I think for me, when I was a student, learning what was happening on other campuses was so critical to feel like I wasn't alone, but also to like bounce ideas off each other, because you're the experts in your own contexts. So we're going to have about 15 minutes, maybe a little bit less, so that we can stay within time. Talk about what are the ways you're going to put these action steps into practice, especially drawing from some of the things that Becca shared about the action planning tools. So I'm going to post some questions in the chat to help guide your conversation. And as a small group, you can each take some time and like do some journaling if you want, and then share together. But I'll let you choose what the best way is to move forward with that. So decide, when are you going to put your action on the map? What are 2 tactics that you plan on using for recruitment? And what are the details of those? And then some key questions to dig in a little bit deeper are, what are the risks you or your team is taking in this action? How will this make your campaign stronger? So again, what are some of the risks that you or your team are taking to make this action happen? And how is that going to make your campaign stronger? We're going to put those in the chat right now. Awesome. And again, just be patient as Erin helps break us up into small groups.
I'm a little confused. Are y'all also not in a breakout?
No.
Hey, y'all. If y'all just want to do it here, because I think some people rejected their invitations. So just like, you can use this group to talk. And I'm going to just step back.
Thanks, Aaron. I also somehow lost the questions, though.
Okay. The questions are: when are you going to put your action on the map? What are 2 tactics that you plan on using for recruitment? Okay, great. Thank you. What are the details of your tactics, and what are some risks your team is making? And how are you going to make your campaign stronger? So I think you could just like pick a couple and go.
Yeah, why not? Sorry for gaps. Come on, immigrant. Correct me. Yes.
So, are both of y'all doing actions as well? Wait, who else here? Because I can only see Lisa and what's your name? Sim?
Yeah, that's my name.
Hey.
Is there a Paula and a Mimi on the call? I see 2 other names, but I don't hear them. So
I'm Paola.
Oh, hi.
I'm not a student, though. I'm not at university. I'm kind of started a crew in or guardian crew in Westchester, New York, and I don't have any of the kids in the call, but I wanted to know what this was about, and so I'm just listening in, okay? And I don't have any college students yet. My son is going to get some college students, but otherwise they are high school student or middle school students. So I don't think it's for them. But I mean, it could be, but they need to be here, and they're not. So I'll be happy to listen in.
That's so cool that you're doing that. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. What are y'all thinking in terms of yeah, I guess it's like details of your actions, and I mean, at least are you sort of coordinating other people's actions? Are you doing something too, or like what all you?
Yeah, I'm not a student. I coach students in the Boston area. So I
Hi.
Hello.
All right. I realized that you weren't with anybody else. I think something is just, it wasn't letting me sort you somewhere else. So if you want to just talk with me through
Sure.
questions, I would love to do that.
Sure.
By the way, my name is Erin, and I'm a campaign coach with the DSN. So I'm kind of just like supporting students with their walkouts. So yeah. Do you have access to the questions?
No, it went away. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Here, I'll repost them. Someone posted them and they're in all caps. So sorry about that.
That's okay.
Becca said about, what did she say? About
Can you see them now?
Yeah.
Okay.
being one of the most effective methods?
I'm Ariana. I'm from University of Washington, and I've been organizing for about a year, a little over a year. And then, when are we going to put our action on the map? We're still like deciding to actually do an action.
Really?
Yeah, we're having a meeting tonight that will hopefully like solidify things and create a task group and everything. So hopefully next week, sometimes we'll have things pinned down for an actual like date and everything.
Yeah.
We plan to do a lot of tabling for recruitment, and we plan to, we're doing a teach-in a week or two before the action. So that will be a good recruitment plan to like
bring people in and educate them on like what's happening and kind of where we want to be. Yeah.
Cool. So you all are planning on doing a walkout if you decide to do that? Like, y'all are still figuring it out?
Yeah, we still have to figure out. There's a couple of members involved in other like justice groups, and so we're still trying to coordinate with them and like figure out the best time for us to do something and kind of how to build the most power from that.
Right.
Yeah. So we're kind of behind on all this, but we're still trying to do it, and we know it's important.
Totally.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, how are you like planning on talking through that with folks? Like, I know you said like next week you're trying to like get it down pat, like if it's going to happen or not, but is there stuff happening like this week?
Yeah, tonight we'll
Cool.
We'll go through it. We're actually going to use some of the stuff we learned today
awesome.
on this call, and then like tell the whole group, because there's only 2 of us on the call, and then we'll go from there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Jess is working. She's in Seattle also, so she's been working with us and helping us like plan a little bit. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'm like working with a bunch of campaigns who are also kind of in like a similar boat where it's just like they're just trying to align with the whole team. It's like we've got like a couple people who are like really down, but because people are on break, it's just like really hard.
Yeah, we just got back, and yeah, it is hard.
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering if there's like anything in particular you like want to talk through, because we have like about 4 minutes or so. So if there's like stuff on top for you, I'd be happy to like work through some of it with you.
Oh, thank you. I don't know. This is kind of overwhelming right now because there's like so much. That's big. Toolkit is so big.
I actually have a question.
But
what are dorm?
Which part is overwhelming? Sorry.
Oh, just like it's just a lot. Which I think it's awesome that we have this toolkit, but it's just like we have to share it with everyone and then like implement it, which our group's a little disorganized, so that's difficult.
Yeah, definitely. Is there like a solid group of like a couple people that you feel like you could work through like a proposal even, or?
Yeah, there is a solid group. We'll see. It's the first meeting of the quarter tonight, so we'll see like who actually comes. And we used to have like a pretty dedicated core that's been there, like experienced core members, but they've kind of like been like inconsistent. So we have new members that are committed, so that's awesome. So it's just we do have a good core.
Definitely. I'm there with you. I graduated from UNC Asheville last May.
Yeah.
And a bunch of our core leaders like left because we all graduated, and so like now that I've been a coach, it's been like a lot of trying to bring new people up to speed, and it's really hard to like figure out, I don't know, splitting energy between like that internal support of like making sure that like people in your core know what's going on, and then like also feeling like you're doing enough of like that external work. But I don't know, something I've been telling a lot of my cores is that like it's really overwhelming definitely to plan an action, but it's like also one of like the best ways, I think, especially in this moment where everyone is like, I really want to get involved with something, and like things are so scary that like it's a great way to just like even practice.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, I mean, you don't have to do like a perfect job.
Right.
Whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Like even standing up and like having solid messaging up on social media and like having people there, just like even if it's a small group, huge. You know?
Definitely. Yeah, I think it will be a good test for us, and to like actually work together and create like a team and pull off something.
Totally.
Yeah. So I'm excited for that.
And I think a lot of like that team building stuff really comes in the recruitment time when you're like, you know, if you're like planning on doing dorm storms together, or like flying and like things like that, that's like the best time to just like kind of goof around and like have a really fun time with people.
Yeah. Which is something we need to work on, so that's good.
Definitely. And also I was going to ask, like, are you planning on, like, that I've been working with constantly are just saying like, well, I really want to do a walkout, but I'm just like scared because of like, ... And over and over again, I've just been like being like, but do you know what happened this week with Trump? Like, and just like bringing that kind of refocus back to people where it's just like, we need to do something, you know, and we have organizing shops and like access to these organizing resources, you know?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. And even if you like open up your meeting being like, this is why I'm excited to be here. It would be great.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, definitely. And like, I think that's a good refocus because people are kind of like caught up in like other things, and it can be like, this is very relevant to us, and this is like what's happening like right now. So yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like even recommend like if you have time before that meeting to just like write down some of your thoughts about like why you're excited about this.
Yeah.
And like practicing even what you want to say, because I really think it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm kind of like the breakout manager, so
go ahead.
I'm gonna close the rooms. But it's been so nice to talk to you.
Yeah, nice meeting you. Thanks for setting this up and everything.
For sure.
I know, not in like in a productive way.
Make your campaign stronger.
Looks like folks are rejoining, so.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh. Woo, that was awesome. We just got an explosion of people come back, which is great. Awesome. So let's take 5 or so minutes to hear what people said. What were some learnings or things you realized? What were some ideas that came out from the questions that y'all answered? Let's start with let's start with some tactics that were exciting for recruitment, and some risks that y'all feel like are going to make your campaign stronger. I hear someone off mute. No, y'all were gone for a long time. I bet you were really chatty. My people were chatty.
I can go ahead and say something that I thought was a good idea. I thought what Victoria mentioned, somebody she's working with is doing is asking 3 friends this week and then more friends the upcoming week, and just continuing to do personal outreach with your friends and classmates, in addition to all of the social media and outreach. Does that work?
Yeah, thank you, Rachel.
Okay. I think my internet went down for a second.
No, you're good. So we got some individual outreach, ask 3 friends. This week, ask 5 friends next week. We got Kengo in the chat. They decided to have the walkout time more toward the end of most classes. So if a class is from like 1 to 2, they would have people like start to walk out at 1:30. Kengo, if you want to say more, like any reasoning for that, or expand, that'd be cool.
Yeah, totally. One thing that we talked about in our group chat was about hesitations of sort of pissing off faculty and admin in a way that we don't want them to be pissed off. For instance, thinking that the protest is about like against faculty. And so in our campaign, we talked about sort of having it really, really clear when we talk to faculty that we're not protesting faculty, and it's blah, 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 all these other things. And we need to sort of call them into a role instead of acting like we're against them. Also, faculty expect this student protest in some sort of way because they know that inauguration is a big thing and they've seen a lot of shit go down around it. And we also decided to have it during the end of class, just because we thought that might attract more people who might not want to miss like the entire class. We just thought it was maybe a good middle ground to choose a time toward the end of most classes.
Nice. You think there was also something around like if you opt out in the middle, it's more like, oh, it's not just people who are passing from class to class who are standing around. It's sort of like clear that this is a thing that's happening. Thank you so much, Kingo. So if people have other stuff that they want to share, please go ahead and throw it in the chat. This is definitely the time to be sharing ideas and things that maybe you hadn't thought of before or you think seem like a no-brainer, but actually is really smart and new for some people. So I know I heard a lot of things like that on my talk. So yeah, and I'm gonna pass it back. If y'all can read the things that people throw in the chat, and I'm gonna pass it back to Jess. So thanks everyone.
Awesome. Thanks y'all for those really creative and super useful ideas. I want to share a couple of resources before we close so that you all have an idea of how we can keep supporting you as you continue to move forward. So this question that Paul just posted is actually really relevant. How is DSN or 350 spreading pictures and media nationally about all the individual actions, and how do we help with that? So one of the key things that will help with that is another plug to sign up your actions, because that will actually allow us to be in contact with you regularly and get media from you all from your actions so that we can continue to amplify the story of what's going down on the 23rd. And we're working on a media plan right now about how we're going to continue to boosting out the stories of what's happening on the ground on campuses and tell an overarching story. So if you may have seen that there was actually a post recently where Greta Neubauer, our director at the DSN, was interviewed about the upcoming Day of Action. So that's really exciting. So we're working with press contacts to build the buzz around this, and we'll keep doing some social media pushes to support sending out what you all are doing and continue to send to share an overarching message. Becca, Victoria, Aaron, do you want to add anything to that? I think the only thing that I want to add is a reminder from Caitlin, thanks Caitlin, to pick a media point person from your campaign. And we want to gather together folks who are representing different campaigns as a media point person to become a part of our overall communications team for the Day of Action. And that'll actually be the best way to translate media that you all are generating on campus to be able to share that out over time. Cool. Thank you so much for that question. Awesome. So I want to share out a couple more resources that we have for you all. First is, again, to sign up for the action, and I'm going to post this link again here, and move your groups to be deciding about whether you're going to join us on the 23rd and how that's going to look, right? So to get your action plans moving forward, we've got a lot of coaching support for y'all. We've got almost 20 coaches ready to support campaigns across the country. And one of the best ways they're going to do that is through open office hours. And those are going to be on Thursdays and Sundays. So this Thursday and Sunday, the 12th and the 15th, from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern time. That's 4 to 7 Pacific time. And then also next Thursday, the 19th, and Sunday, the 22nd, right leading up to the Day of Action. So that's basically like you can join a Google Hangout and bring your questions, bring your ideas, and get some support from a coach. if you want one-on-one coaching with one of our amazing coaches, you can fill out the form that we shared for registering for this call. If you didn't check that you wanted a coach, you can email us at diveststudentnetwork@gmail.com. And that's also the best place to share any questions that you have with us. So anything that didn't get answered tonight, please just shoot us an email. The next thing that's super exciting is we have a brand new, super flashy, fancy toolkit. And Becca was mentioning this earlier. It's got some really dope tools for you all to do action planning, as well as some media and communications skills to help you all move forward. So we're going to be sending all of this. I know it's a ton of information. We're going to be sending all of it out in an email to you at the latest tomorrow morning. So you'll get access to all of this. And then the last thing that I wanted to remind you all about, we talked about on our first call, is that we also have a Slack channel. And Slack is this application that allows groups to have group chats together and channels, but you can also chat one-on-one. And we started a Slack channel for all of you and for our coaches and staff members at 350 and the DSN, so that students can stay in touch with each other. You can pose questions, but it's also going to be a really great way for you to receive news and media throughout the planning process, whether that's resources or articles, etc. So the Slack is specifically for this day of action, and it's going to be both communications and coaching and all of those things. Does that make sense, Dan?
Yes.
Cool. Thanks. And there's the toolkit. Becca just posted it. So please check it out. We're going to be sending all of these resources out to you in the next 24 hours. So I wanted to thank you all so much for being here tonight. I know that we're asking a lot of you, and we're really excited to be joining together in this really critical political moment to take action together. I think leading up to Trump's inauguration, I've been feeling sort of waves of hopelessness and fear and anger. But at the end of the day, when I get to get on a call with 40 incredible people who are really on the same page and ready to throw down and believe in the vision that we share for a more just and sustainable future, it gives me a lot of hope. And I believe that we can make some really bold actions happen on the 23rd. So I would just invite folks to share one feeling word of what they're leaving with today in the chat before we close out. And I also wanted to pass along one of my favorite poems. I won't read it now because it's a little bit long, by Martin Espada, and it's called The Angels of Bread. So take a moment and read that later, especially in the times when you're feeling a little down or hopeless. Thanks everyone for joining us. All right, we will see you soon. Take care, everyone.